Aurobindo is looking at freedom and also political system from a particular perspective, that is Advaita Vedanta. He thinks that this is the highest ideal of man, and so he is taking it as a solution to individual as well as polity. So which means we have to understand what this Advaita means. It seems, say there is an individual. In this individual, self should be lost, self-loss. It is expected if self is lost, or then he becomes free. So, loss of self is taken as freedom or liberty, and this is supposed to make him feel or make him one with the others, make him one with others, one with others. So, to repeat, the loss of self makes him one with the others. This loss of self is taken as a liberty. So, in Advaita, liberty is related to this oneness. Oneness means lack of conflict, the idea that one is with everybody else. Essentially, there is no more self. So, Aurobindo thinks about both psychological process as well as the social and political process in the light of Advaita's Advaita ideal. So, let us see how he sees this. Number one, he looks at society in terms of evolution. He classifies society in terms of pre-modern age, modern age, and man will one day enter spiritual age. Pre-modern age is what history textbooks also consider as pre-modern, that is before modern age. Aurobindo says this is characterized by primitive consciousness dominated by instinct and reason, lack of reason. Beginning of ancient Greek civilization and prehistoric period of India is clearly pre-modern. And Aurobindo then comes to modern age. Modern age, modern age started with liberal ideas, democracy, industrial revolution. So, Aurobindo calls this first stage as age of liberty. Age of liberty, which is individualistic and democratic. Definitely, English Revolution started this age of liberty, and next American Revolution. But in response to these institutions of democracy, because some felt that they were not addressing the issue of inequality, they wanted to bring a different kind of system, that is socialism and communism. Aurobindo calls this age of equality. So, socialism is a reaction to democracy. So, he simply explaining the historical process. There is nothing much more here. Okay. Next he says, so this is history, but next he is proposing future. The future is going to be anarchic. Anarchic means no state. It is a loose voluntary cooperation of individuals and groups. And he is proposing after the anarchic age, there comes a new kind of age which he calls a spiritual age. You can see what is common to this change is there is an increasing freedom. Of course, freedom decline here, but compared to this, there is more freedom finally in the spiritual age. So, which means Aurobindo thinks that man is evolving and society is evolving. Of course, through experimentation process, and finally he enters a spiritual age, which is the last point. Like Marx proposes communism, Aurobindo is proposing the spiritual age. Okay. And he discusses these ages. He has something to say about age of liberty. So he says this is the problem with age of liberty or democracy. This is a glorification of liberty, because of which the average man doesn't use his freedom to arrive at a rational judgment of his life with the life of others. So his life is in conflict with others. This man's liberty is in conflict with another man's liberty. So he pursues his at the expense of or in competition with the life of others. So age of liberty is a competitive society. Instead of harmoniously ordered society, there has been developed a huge organized competitive system. That is to say, individual has liberty, but because of competition, there is no harmony. In the constitutional terms, you can say liberty is there, but there is no fraternity. This is the problem with democracy. So, in response, socialism came, but there are problems with socialism. Aurobindo says socialism as a theory ignores the soul of man and its supreme need of freedom. So, socialism tries to bring an order around, but imposed order, but individuals' freedom is gone in this process. So, So, imposed order at the expense of the freedom. So, Aurobindo thinks that this is not the right kind of system. And he takes communism and fascism are one and the same. He says, look at this. The essential features are the same in Russia and in fascist countries. There is the seizure of the life of the community by a dominant individual, leader, Führer, Dux, dictator, head of a small active minority, Nazi, fascist or communist party, and supported by militarized partisan force. So, violence, small group and one leader. To react against the social principle or claims the right of man to live his own life in the egoistic sense. So, it is not egoistic anarchism, but rather anarchism is based on internal change. Anarchism demands an internal change. Aurobindo says, the more the outer law is replaced by an inner law, the nearer man will draw to his true and natural perfection. Outer law means no force, no compulsion to be good, but rather individual is transformed internally. So, that is an inner law, and he says that that is natural perfection. So, essentially Aurobindo is proposing that man should change, and this change he calls inner freedom. And this inner freedom will enable him to live with harmony with others. And this thing creates a sense of oneness. So, Aurobindo is looking at liberty and harmony. Okay. And this is supposed to lead to oneness. So, he's looking at. So, he says freedom and order are related. The solution lies in a spiritual and inner freedom that can alone create a perfect human order. So, individual freedom creates an order around. And excellence in this individual freedom finally makes the society enter spiritual age. He says the climax of this evolution is a movement from rational age to spiritual age. It is the kingdom of God within, the result of the finding of God, not in a distant heaven but within ourselves. So, God realized. So, God realization within the individuals makes the society enter the spiritual age. And what would that be? So, that is oneness as Advaita advocates. As he moves towards spiritual freedom, he moves towards spiritual oneness. A perfected community can exist only by the perfection of its individuals, and perfection can come only by the discovery by all of their spiritual unity and resultant life unity. So, spiritual unity, resultant life unity. This is what Shankaracharya proposed. So, this is the Vedantic ideal of Hindu society. In such a spiritual age, Aurobindo thinks nation is not important. So, he says the individual does not owe his ultimate allegiance either to the state, which is a machine, or to the community, which is a part of life and not the whole of life. Okay, it seems community is only a part of life, not the whole of life. His allegiance must be to the truth, the self, the spirit, the divine, which is in him and in all. So explicitly, this is Vedantic language. Anyway, you want to know some crazy ideas of Vedanta? It is like this. Use these words. An individual is supposed to have small spirit, and when he realizes this small spirit merges with capital spirit and dissolved, individuality dissolved. Or individual is supposed to have small self, then it is supposed to merge with capital self. Okay. So, Aurobindo is using capital self, capital spirit. So, these are all the reasons why I am never impressed by Aurobindo. It's a mechanical application of certain philosophical concepts. I don't see any originality in him. Sorry to say that. Anyway, continue the discussion. And then he says, nation doesn't exist, but it is a world union will come in a spiritual age. On a world level, this order must take the form not of interrelated system of nation states or even a world state, but a world union. So, he is saying not even world state or world government, it is a world union. It means a kind of a global fraternity, global community, you can say, with people feeling connected in oneness. So, that is the political solution. In fact, if you look differently, Ambedkar also said that finally system depends upon individuals. There is a famous quote of Ambedkar: however good a constitution may be, if those who are implementing it are not good, it will prove to be bad. However bad a constitution may be, if those implementing it are good, it will prove to be good. So, this shows how individuals are important, which means character is important. It means what is he inside is important. So, what Ambedkar would say good and bad, Aurobindo is saying in terms of freedom. So, inner freedom is nothing but character, because what makes him bad is his slavery to certain selfish desires and predispositions. But the relevance of Aurobindo's thought if applied to Ambedkar's quotation, is that Ambedkar is saying that finally what matters is whether the people are good or bad. If one is sure that what matters is people are good or bad, then what is political system doing about it? So how can one write a detailed constitution and then say it finally depends upon people? If it depends on people, what is the constitution doing to change the character of the people? That is a question that has to be addressed. It can't be just an observation. So in that sense, Aurobindo is formalizing and highlighting the important role of character. Okay, so much that Aurobindo says this outer thing won't help. The political, social or other mechanical remedies which the mind is constantly attempting and which have always failed will continue to fail to solve anything. Okay, so this political and social outside things can't solve human problem. The most drastic changes made by these means change nothing, for the old ills exist in a new form. The aspect of the outward environment is altered, but the man remains what he was. Only a spiritual change, an evolution of his being from the superficial mental towards the deeper spiritual consciousness can make a real difference. So he is saying unless individuals change, there cannot be harmony, there cannot be fraternity, there cannot be healthy order. So what is made one as one sideways observation by Ambedkar, to Aurobindo, that's a very important issue, and so Aurobindo thinks that individual transformation is important not only for the individual but for the political system. Quotations are taken from this book, Ideas of Indian Freedom by Dennis Dant.